All right, here is the steps you're going to use for this morph practice animation that we did. This will just be in Quick Editor, although you can follow this pretty much the same steps in Flip a Clip. So first thing I'm going to do is name this. This is just called Morph Practice. We're going to leave the frame rate at 12 frames per second. Size is good. And then we can get started. Actually, I'm going to just change the background color just to make it a little more exciting. We'll do the screen. And now we can start. We're going to start on frame 1 with just a square. So let me set up my brush. And I'm going to just do my best to draw a square in the middle. Don't worry too much if it's not super perfect, but do try to make it a square. So there's frame 1. And what we're going to do next is we're going to go to frame 2. Let me turn on my onion skin so you can see that. We're going to take this square and then slowly morph it into another shape, a star in this case. So what I want to do first is kind of turn this square so that it's standing on its points. So we'll do that gradually. So here's step 2. Then frame 3 will be a little bit more of a rotation. And then 4, we're going to turn it completely so that the point is at the top. And now we have sort of a square standing on its corner. And those are your first 4 frames. So far we have this. Now on frame 5, what we're going to do is we're going to shrink this down a bit. And this is sort of anticipation for our transformation, kind of like a sign that something's going to change. So it's going to quickly get smaller, and then it'll kind of expand into its new shape. Frame 5 is going to be even smaller. Now we're only going to do 2 frames of this because we want it to be quick. So right now we have this. Again, it turns and then it shrinks a little bit. And on 7, we're going to now expand again. So what I'll do is I'm going to extend these corners out a bit, like they're stretching. So it's kind of like a star, a 4-sided star. Okay, a little crooked, but that's okay. And then the next frame on 8 is just going to be a slightly bigger version. And now I'm going to try to even this out. So it was a little crooked before. See if you can even it out. Okay, so that's frame 8. Now 9, we're going to tighten this up a bit. So I'm going to maybe extend those corners a bit, but now I'm going to bring in those Try to clean that up. I'm going to bring in these inside corners. Okay, that's what we got so far. Frame 10, we're going to start to kind of get closer to our final form. So this is going to turn into a 5-pointed star. And so these next frames, I'm going to just start bringing up these two sides a bit. And then on frame 11, I'm going to do two things. I'm going to do the two wings are now, it's just going to be straight across on the top here. And then I'm going to start to split this bottom point into 2 points, because this is going to turn into 2 legs of sorts. On frame 12, we're just going to continue that. This time bigger. I'll do that again. So let's just review. Okay, now it's starting to split. On 13, we're gonna even split that even more. And we're definitely gonna get closer to the final form. And I'm gonna get there by 16, I think. So between that, between 13 and 16, I'm just kind of fine-tuning this star shape. And 16 will be the kind of final star. So what I'm going to do on this one, I'm going to just do the sort of trick to draw a 5-sided star, which is to draw these straight lines all the way through and across. And then I'm going to erase the insides. And there's your star. So now let's watch it. And we have our morph. Okay. Now, some things that we are going to do to just kind of clean this up a bit. Number one, I don't want this to just go right into the spin and morph. I want to hold it in its original pose for a little bit. So I'm going to select all of these frames here, and I'm going to move them down a bit. So I'll start it at 6. And I want my first rectangle to just kind of sit here. Let me split this up. And I'm going to redraw these. You could copy it definitely if you wanted to. But I want it to sort of flicker a bit. I want that sort of imperfect drawing aesthetic. So again, I'm just holding this frame for the most part for a few frames, just so we have a chance to kind of see the shape before it actually starts doing anything. You know, it's like before you watch anything, you want to establish your character or your scene. And so we don't want to just jump right in. We want to introduce a little bit. So that's kind of why we're holding this first frame for a little bit. And then there's a little bit of a pause before we get into the morph. Same thing, I'm going to take this last pose here. For this one, I'm just going to copy it. And I'll paste it in the next few frames. I'll just make this 26 frames. And again, that will hold that last pose for a little bit. And that is your morph animation. I'm going to go in here and just kind of erase and add a little bit of variety here, just because I don't want it to stay super still. And then I'll just retrace it. And then I'll at least get a little bit of movement there. And that's it. So you save this, export a GIF, and that is your animation.